The King and the Valley. The wealthy king of a vast empire had 2 sons. One day he called his sons to him and announced that they were making a journey together to a remote valley. It took the king and his sons 2 weeks to arrive at their destination. Gazing out over the valley, the king pointed out a mountain that dominated the landscape near the center of the valley. "The valley you see before you is part of my vast kingdom," the king told his sons. "I have divided it into 4 sections, northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast. I am giving each of you 1 section of the valley on which to build your own kingdom. Tell me which sections you will choose." The eldest son, Eliab, stepped forward immediately. He was a tall, handsome, and physically strong man. "I will take the southwestern portion of the valley," he told his father. "It is conveniently located close to the capital city." "Are you sure?" his father asked. "Yes, I'm quite sure," Eliab answered. "What about you?" the king asked his younger son Samuel. "Father, might I have 30 days to make up my mind?" Samuel asked. The king smiled and agreed to his younger son's request. Eliab, with a satisfied grin on his face, headed back to the capital city with his father, the king, and their entourage. But Samuel, travel sack on his back and walking stick in his hand, set out alone for the center of the valley. It took Samuel 2 days to reach the foot of the mountain in the center of the valley. He camped one night on the mountain and reached the summit on the 2nd day. From his lofty vantage point, the king's younger son was able to survey the entire valley. When he had seen enough, he proceeded back down the mountain and headed back to the capital city. On the 30th day, Samuel reached the gates of the city and headed straight for his father's palace. The residents of the city, having heard of the young prince's adventure, looked on with curiosity and respect as Samuel neared his destination. The palace was full of people as the king's son entered the throne room, his rod in his hand. The king, sitting on his throne, conducting business, looked up and smiled as he entered. "Let's see what my son Samuel has to say," the king said to Eliab, who was sitting by his side. He raised his hand, and his wise men, nobles, and subjects fell silent. The king rose to his feet and embraced his younger son. "I'm overjoyed to see you," he said to Samuel. "Have you decided what section of the valley you wish to take for your own?" "Yes, father, I have," Samuel said, smiling confidently. Then, with every eye fixed on him, the young prince continued. "After you and Eliab left for the capital, I walked 2 days' journey to the foot of the mountain that stands in the center of the valley. It took me 2 days to climb to the peak, but once I reached the summit, I was able to see the entire valley. This is what I discovered. The northeastern section has a few streams, but many rocky and dry places, not suitable for much of anything. The southeastern section is made up primarily of inhospitable desert. The southwestern section, chosen by my brother Eliab, is mainly marshland and swamps." Eliab's jaw dropped suddenly, while smiles and soft laughter could be heard through the palace hall. "The northwestern section, however, has an abundance of rivers, lakes, forests, and pastures," Samuel continued. "It is a land of great beauty and diversity. So if it agrees with you, father, I would like the northwestern section of the valley." "It is done as you ask," the king answered. A roar of approval went up throughout the throne room. When it was finally quiet, Samuel addressed the king again. "Father, if I have found favor in your eyes, could I also have the mountain that is in the center of the valley Samuel asked. The king, though surprised by the request, smiled broadly. A wise person knows when to ask for something, he answered. The mountain is yours. Do you have a name for it? Samuel, who would one day sit on his father's throne, answered, Yes, my lord. I have named it Mount Perspective. I have learned that if you wish to operate in wisdom, you need a higher perspective. In order to stand on the mountain peak called wisdom, where the clouds dwell, the eagles soar, and the view is the most spectacular, you must begin climbing the mountain of knowledge at its base.